everybody. This is Shulamit, Lazarus, EFT specialist, personal transformation coach, and healer, homeopath, and more. I can't fill it all in. The video is I can just go to my website, ShulamitLazarus.com. And you can always reach me if you have any questions. Call my office, which is 24/7. And you can also leave comments, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. You can also contact me on Facebook, Shulamit Lazarus, and iMessage me. What I want to work on today with you is heartbreak. Heartbreak and relationship endings that, or maybe not endings, but acute, painful experiences in relationships that make you feel that you have heartbreak, like your heart is broken. And you know, I work with that a lot with my clients, right? Heartache, heartbreak, relationship issues, feeling abandoned, and so on. But what I want to do is work on this piece with you to start helping you heal from heartbreak and heartache. So we're going to work with EFT tapping, and you may or may not know about it, so I'm going to just review it really quickly. But I have a very basic, more in-depth teaching on EFT in my other videos on the channel. And so what we've discovered is all negative emotion, physical pain, and physical illness comes from a disturbance in the energy field. And that we have an energy field, we're actually energy fields within energy fields, and actually everything is energy fields within energy fields. And science confirms that. Medicine won't talk about that. Medicine is stuck in a Newtonian physics paradigm of molecules breaking molecules, which is why the medicines from that 3D mentality of particles bombarding with particles, it doesn't really heal. It reduces symptoms, but it doesn't really heal. Anything that touches the energy field and gets the energy field moving again, that's what heals. So everything that I do, whether it's imagery work or energetic healing or EFT or matrix re-imprinting or Tesla metamorphosis healing or Reiki or therapeutic touch, homeopathy, all of those things are focused on moving energy within the energy field. It's very, very specific, right? We're working with consciousness here, and consciousness is expressing in you as energy fields within energy fields. So the discovery that all negative emotion comes from a disturbance in the energy field. And then if we bring up a thought, and that thought is associated with a negative feeling or a negative experience, it charges that thought negatively. We don't do well with negatively charged thought. So what happens is it creates blockages in the field. It gets it stuck. And what we found is if we tap on certain acupuncture points while we hold the issue in mind that's bothering us, we start releasing some of the charge. Sometimes release all of the charge, sometimes release some of the charge, but we're always able to actually move the energy that way and start facilitating healing, just like acupuncture is stimulating your energetic points, but they call it acupuncture points. So what we're going to be doing is tapping on certain acupuncture points to leading acupuncture meridians, and we're going to attune to the emotion, the feeling that's bothering us. Now, having said that, when we start tapping, you access the subconscious mind immediately. What does that mean? That means the subconscious mind is not a place, it's actually a field. So when you start tapping, you're accessing the energy field that is your subconscious mind, where everything is stored. And you can get flooded. So I want you to, if you start getting flooded, to stop tapping and just listen and just absorb what you can, right? And when you're able to, then go back and try and do the tapping, right? But the way I'm going to be doing it, I think that you'll be fine. I have a feeling that you'll be fine, but again, if not, I just want you to know this is a very deceptively simple process that is profoundly deep and effective. Okay? And so I don't play around with it. I don't suggest that, people do trauma work on their own. But this is basically focusing on something that you already have going on, which is a feeling that your heart is broken. Now, I'm going to, just because I'm going to assume that, I don't mean to insult any men, but women tend to be more open to working on heartbreak because we've been socialized to be allowed to express ourselves in our feelings, which is one of the reasons why we live longer, because we're able to express ourselves. Unfortunately, men have been socialized, all of you guys, I don't know how old you are, but the generations, my generation and the generations before that certainly, and even the generation after that somewhat, has been socialized to man up and, hold in feelings and all that kind of stuff. And I remember this book that's Real Men Eat Quiche that came out. So anyway, so I'm going to say he, and you guys can say he or she, right? Because if you're in gay relationships, you're still dealing with relationship, but you just flip the pronoun, make it right for yourself, and the same with the women. Okay, so I'm going to say he, even though he. All right, so when we tap, we do something called a setup, and that is we tap on the side of the hand, that soft area, which is the karate chop area, and we say a very simple affirmative sentence. Even though I have this blank, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have this blank, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have this blank, I deeply and completely accept myself. That's for basic EFT. At a certain point, I'm probably going to get more nuanced, because for me, I'm a vehicle, an intuitive vehicle, and if it tells me that I need to become more nuanced for you to be doing this, I'll go there. So don't be surprised if I change something up, because I may. All right, so, but that's the basic, that's the setup. And now what you want to do with that is that then the reminder phrase, which is the blank, becomes the thing that you attune to when you tap. And we tap about anywhere from 7 to 9, but it could be a little bit less, could be a little bit more. It depends on your pace. I'm a New Yorker, basically, so I'm a quick talker and a quick tapper. So if it's too slow for you, just bring it down, right? Okay. So, I mean, if it's too fast for you, just make it slower, and if it's the other way around, make it faster, whatever feels right to you. Okay, so I'm going to lead you through. So what we're going to do after we do the tapping, and we call that the setup, because the way we phrase it is actually setting up the rest of the rounds of tapping to land and start moving stuck energy. And you'll hear, I deeply and completely accept myself. I'm able to, as a clairsentient, I feel the frequencies of thoughts. And when I'm tapping with my clients, whether it's in person or on the phone, it really doesn't matter. I can feel their energy shift. And quite often, I feel it as a feedback inside myself. It's very hard to describe being clairsentient, because most people talk about being an empath. And although I'm highly empathic, empaths are actually quite often very miserable, because they're taking on the emotions and feeling the emotions of others. For me, it's not like that. That'll happen every once in a while, once in a blue moon, maybe 3 times a year or something. Mostly I get auditory information of like, oh, I get this is what's going on with you, and we need to say this. But as far as kinesthetic, I get a feedback in my body around frequencies. So I can attune to frequencies, I can pick up frequencies. Everything for me is around frequencies. And so So what I find quite often is that when people get to the point, when a client will get to the point in a session of I deeply and completely accept myself, I can feel my field change. And that's because they don't accept themselves, right? I get that. I understand that. Right at that moment, you're angry at yourself, you're criticizing, you're feeling guilty, all that stuff. It certainly is not accepting, right? However, you're made of this energy field is actually the result of what we call chakras, and those I'm just going to say are energetic centers or oscillators, so we can get the exotic out of the way because people make up stories about that. And so these oscillators, they put out a frequency. Okay, we are all frequencies, and that's picked up in EEGs and EKGs and EMGs, which picks up the muscle frequencies. So we have energetic frequency, electromagnetic frequencies moving all the time, which is why this whole 5G thing that's happening, this rollout now, is causing a lot of issues with people's health. And you can look more into that. Some people are saying that COVID is actually the response, the radiation poisoning response of 5G, because 5G is so intense, it's almost like a sonic weapon. But I'm not going to put on my V for Vendetta hat now, but I'm going to buy the mask because I definitely have V for Vendetta, freedom fighter in me. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to oscillate in a way that opens up the field, okay? So if we say I deeply and completely accept myself, and from my experiences spiritually and an awakening that I had in 2013 and other experiences, to me, there is no doubt that there is an intelligence to the consciousness that is breathing and expressing as everything. Some people call it God, shamanic practitioners say, natives say the great mystery, whatever, however you want to put it. But the heart is the center of that. And so when love and heart are connected completely, you are connected to divine love from the minute your beingness starts in your mother's womb, and then continuously. However, when you are cut off from your own self-love, you actually cut yourself off from your heart. You make a decision at one point that you're not worthy, or you make a decision at one point that you're not lovable. And often it's from, birth to 7 that there's that download and these core beliefs that get started of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, etc. And then after that is playback. And so then you experience your life from the perspective of the self that had those core beliefs. And I'm going to talk about creating reality and creating your future more in depth in another video. But in any event, so what happens is that you trigger the heart. When you say I deeply and completely accept myself, you're actually mirroring an experience that's inside you all the time. And for those people that have died and come back to speak about it, I don't call that near death because that's like being near pregnant. They died and came back and spoke about it. They felt this incredible, like beyond imaginably, even to verbalize divine love. Okay, so there's this divine love that you are connected to and that you are sourced from. And so when you say I deeply and completely accept myself, you trigger the heart center, and that is the center that actually governs your whole, all the other centers, and governs your whole field. And so when you say that, even if you're angry at yourself and criticizing yourself and feeling somehow you're not good enough, and that's the reason why this person stopped their relationship with you, or it didn't work out, or you feel like you're a failure or whatever, when you say that, you access that, you trigger that, and you open up your field. Okay? And that way the things that we're tapping on can land. If you don't do that, what we have found is that your field shuts down, and then you can tap, till tomorrow morning, and it's not going to do anything, right? So, because you're shutting yourself down. All right, so I deeply and completely accept myself, even though I have this. Okay. So when we feel heartbreak. Quite often, it's physical. Whenever you have an emotional experience, there's always a physical connected to it in expression. So you may feel shards if you focus in. I'm going to say we're going to do a little imagery, and a lot of times people get confused around imagery that it means that you visualize, but it's not. An image is using the senses to experience something that is not there. So for me, I don't visualize. I mean, eventually I can see visuals, but how I enter things is always in a sense of impressions, because I'm kinesthetic, because I'm clairsentient. Other people are more visual and they'll see things, okay? So I'm going to ask you to just be aware of your body, because your body is going to give you information, and those things that you get images about are actually energetic truths for you. So if you see shards of glass in your heart, or feel shards of glass in your heart, then energetically that actually is true for you. It's just that your consciousness is taking that information, translating it into something that you can understand, and gives it to you as an image. But it's actually a frequency. So we're dealing with frequencies even when we're imaging, okay? So we may be tapping on a certain body sensation to move energy. There are times when I don't work with somebody specifically on a memory or on an aspect of a memory, because it may be too painful for them, and I don't want them to flood, because I don't want to create, they have had enough pain. I certainly don't want to be a vehicle of pain for them. So then I switch to working a different way, and then I'll just work with the image, right? Or sometimes something can't move, and then you work with the image because you don't have the information attached to it, but you feel like this blue blob in your chest, right? Then you work with that, okay? So we're gonna be tapping, and I'm gonna make it very simple in the beginning. Okay, so even though I feel like my heart is broken, and you're going to be repeating like in a parrot manner. So I'm going to say even though, you're going to say even though I feel like my heart is broken, I feel like my heart is broken. It's kind of like going to church and like a call and response thing. Okay? All right. So even though I feel like my heart is broken, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel like my heart is broken, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel like my heart is broken, I deeply and completely accept myself. So we're going to go to the top of the head, and we're going to tap. I feel like my heart is broken. Then we're going to go to the next point, which is where the nose and the brow meet. You'll feel a little indentation. I feel like my heart is broken. And I usually use 2 fingers because it just fits in nicely. So whatever works for you. Then we're going to go to the side of the eye, where the bone is the orbit of the eye. I feel like my heart is broken. And then we're going to go under the eye where it starts the cheekbone. I feel like my heart is broken. And then we're going to go under the nose. I feel like my heart is broken. Under the mouth, I feel like my heart is broken. Collarbone area, where the breastplate and the collarbone and the first rib meet, I feel like my heart is broken. And you can use all 5 fingers or 4 fingers, or you can even use your knuckles. I feel like my heart is broken. Please forgive that sound. We'll ignore it. Underneath the arm, where the bra is or the seam, I feel like my heart is broken. Now that you know the points, we're going to go there. I won't speak them out. I feel like my heart is broken. 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 So now we're going to switch it up. Now that you feel comfortable with this, you can always stop the video and then do some tapping on that if you're not ready to move on. How could he do this to me? 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 I feel so betrayed. I feel so betrayed. I feel so betrayed. I feel so betrayed. I feel so hurt. 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 It feels like a death. 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 I don't know if I'll ever get over this. I don't know if I'll ever get over this. I don't know if I'll ever get over this. I don't know if I'll ever get over this. I can't believe the pain. 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 It feels unending. 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 It feels bottomless. It feels bottomless. It feels bottomless. It feels bottomless. Just going from day to day is so hard. Just going from day to day is so hard. Just going from day to day is so hard. Just going from day to day is so hard. I can't imagine ever getting through this. I can't imagine ever getting through this. I can't imagine ever getting through this. It feels like nothing will be the same. It feels like nothing will be the same. It feels like nothing will be the same. This is so hard. This is so painful. This is so deep. Such a betrayal. Such a betrayal. Such a betrayal. My heart is so broken. Okay, so I want you guys to just take a nice deep breath. If you have any water, which is important to have because you're electrical, so you want to make sure that you're drinking. Take a moment to drink. Stop the video if you need to, and then come back. Now, one of the things that happens when somebody is in a relationship that breaks up is that you blame yourself on some level. There is either a feeling that I wasn't able to make it happen, or I failed in some way, or some kind of self-criticism, some kind of self-anger. Once you start moving the grief of having a broken heart, it starts surfacing in layers other things, and one of them is quite often a feeling of blaming yourself. And so even if you're not feeling that right now, I'm going to invite you to at least listen so that you can go there and do this piece of it another time, or do it anyway and see what happens for you in terms of, so sorry about that, somebody just got in touch with me, in terms of how it makes you feel. Okay, so so what we're going to do is we're going to do the setup again, because if you start tapping on I'm angry at myself and you shut yourself down, we don't want that, right? So we're going to do the setup again. I deeply and completely accept myself, but I'm going to change some of the wording, so it's going to be a little bit of a richer experience for you. Okay, so even though I feel bad about myself because it didn't work, I deeply and completely accept myself. And even though on some level, I feel there must be something wrong with me because it didn't work. I accept myself with all of my feelings. And even though maybe I had something to do with it, I accept myself just the way I am. I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though somehow it must be something about me. I accept myself with all of my feelings. Even though I feel like I failed, I accept myself anyway. So we're going to tap the points again, not with a reminder phrase, because you'll notice that there's different things in there now, and it's becoming a little bit more nuanced. So again, just follow as you're able. Maybe somehow it's my fault. Maybe there's something wrong with me. I tried to make it work, but it ended up not working. It ended up not working. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe on some level I caused it. Maybe on some level I caused it. Maybe on some level it has something to do with me. Maybe I'm not relationship material. Maybe I'm not relationship material. It makes me feel not good enough. It makes me feel not good enough. It makes me feel not good enough. And that makes me feel really sad. That makes me feel really sad. That makes me feel really sad. I wish it had worked out differently. 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 On some level, I'm angry at myself. On some level, I'm angry at myself. On some level, I'm angry at myself. I feel like I failed. I feel like I failed. I feel like I failed. It should have worked out. It should have worked out. I tried so hard. I tried so hard. I did the best I could. At least I believed it at the time. I did the best I could. I did the best I could. I did the best I could. But it still didn't work out. And I feel hurt. And I feel hurt. And I feel hurt. So just take a moment, take a nice deep breath. Another nice deep breath. Drink some water. And now, as strange as it sounds, I just want to leave you with a little something to think about. And that is that we all do the best we can all the time. We can only do what we can do based on our resources, based on our history, based on our understanding in the moment. And everyone is doing the best they can. So this person that hurt you, he or she is also governed by their core beliefs that create their perceptions and that make them behave the way they do. So as strange as it sounds, they're doing the best they can at that very moment in time. And when there's an awakening, even a small awakening, then a person doesn't do the same thing. Because who they are has shifted, because a download has cleared, or because they've had an experience where they've seen a different perspective and they're able to then behave differently. But up until that point, they can't. And so it's the same for you. And so I'm going to invite you into compassion for yourself. Because the one that is really abandoning you is you. If you can hold yourself, if you can love yourself, if you can have compassion for yourself, in the midst of this heartbreak, there will be a pillow that will support you softly. So I'm going to invite you into having compassion for yourself and invite you into holding the idea that you did the best you could. And to allow yourself to understand the self that went through everything that led to where you are now. And in giving yourself that compassion, open your heart to that self. So we're going to do some closure tapping on the reframe to invite in that compassion. So even though I've been really upset with this whole situation, I deeply and completely accept myself. And even though I'm upset with myself in how I handled it, I accept myself with all of my feelings. And even though I'm upset with myself and angry at myself, there's a part of me that's realizing that I did the best I could. And that if I knew more or differently, I would have done differently. And then maybe I can have some compassion for myself. And maybe I can embrace myself. And maybe I can love myself anyway. Okay, so let's tap on that. On some level, I know that I did the best I could. Although it's tough because it seems like I didn't do enough. And it feels like I'm a failure. And that I should have known better. But the fact is that I did the best I could. The fact is I did the best I could. And maybe I can allow myself to have some compassion. Maybe I can allow myself to have compassion for myself. Maybe I can allow myself to have compassion for myself. Maybe I can allow myself to have compassion for myself. And maybe I can allow in that I did the best I could given the circumstances. And maybe I can allow in that I did the best I could given who I was at that time. With all of my history and all of my downloads and all of the beliefs that are running me. Maybe I can give myself some slack. Maybe I can come towards myself with love. Maybe I can embrace myself. Maybe I can be there for myself. Support myself with understanding. Give myself compassion. Wouldn't that be wonderful? How different it would feel if I gave myself compassion. How different it would feel to know that I did what I could. How different it would feel to embrace myself. How wonderful it would feel if I accepted myself deeply and completely with my imperfections. How wonderful it would feel to be there for me. Imagine that. The feeling of loving myself. Imagine that. Having complete compassion for myself. And knowing that I did the best I could. So I want you to take a moment now to just close your eyes and imagine feeling deep compassion for yourself, knowing that that's coming out of an understanding that you did the best you could do, and that if you were someone else, you would have done differently. If you knew other than that, you would have done differently. Take a moment to imagine embracing yourself. See or feel yourself embracing yourself, supporting yourself, feeling compassion, looking at yourself and feeling yourself with understanding and acceptance. And in this tapping process, we have already moved energy for you that has actually grown you. You are not the same person now than you were at the beginning of the tapping that we started. So you have already grown. So just allow yourself to feel that feeling. Let yourself feel your heart be moved. The greatest love that is the most important love is the love for yourself. I hope that this has supported you in some way. I hope that you've gotten a sense. There you are. I hope that you've gotten a sense of loving yourself, embracing yourself, having compassion for yourself, and how different that feels than that moment where you were feeling the heartbreak at the beginning when we were tapping. And if you had any physical images of shards of glass or colors or concrete or broken anything, however that, look at it now. Notice how it's changed. And if it hasn't changed, that's okay too. you started moving some energy. I would invite you to do that daily. And let me know how it goes. Because I want joy for you. I know that your true self is light and it is love, because that's the only frequency that this universe is really made of. You are made of light and you are made of love. And you as light and love are meant to go out into the universe and shine. And more than ever before, we need you. We need your light. So I send you love, I send you blessing, I send you wishes for a stellar day, and we will speak soon. Bye-bye.